really my first negative experience in prison was when I went to the chow line, the chow hall at Fort Dix. And I didn't know that it was one of the largest compounds for sex offenders. And a lot of people, will say in comments and stuff, sex offenders can't walk the yard. Well, in the feds, in low security prisons, they are allowed to walk the yard because there's nowhere else for them to go. They're protected there. If you fight a sex offender or anything, you're going to get kicked up, So I'm at this chow hall. I think it's great because I got all the trays of food. It's good food. There's a buffet line kind of. There's, puddings, there's salads. It's a cool experience. And I go and I sit at the white table, like a group of guys where there's an open seat because I'm white. That was the only information I knew about prison. Sit with your race. That's what I knew and thought of. So I go and sit at this table and, they stop eating.
Oh my God.
When I sit down and everyone's looking up at me and I'm still chowing down. And I had just gotten off like the prison bus to bring us there. And we had just made it past count. And you're always happy when you get off the bus and you make it to your first chow. So you're not given like a cold tray. And I'm just sitting there eating. And then this one guy everyone's staring at me. And this one guy looks at me and he's like, "Hey, you." And I turn around. I'm thinking, who is he talking to? And I realized he was talking to me. And, he tells me, he's like, he tells me this thing about paperwork. You got to have paperwork to sit here. This is a good paperwork table. What are your charges? And I'm like, well, I'll get the paperwork. No problem. Sure, I can make some calls, when I get situated. And I'm here for fraud. And at the time, if there was no 21-year-old white kids in federal prison, there was no one there for fraud that was my age. He says, explains the paperwork. And he said, I need it now. I said, well, there's no way for me to get it now. And when I told him that I was there for fraud, he said, that's what they all say. You have to sit over there. And I looked behind me of who they were, and there was a table of pedophiles, of chomos. That's what they call them in the feds, child molesters. They were all looking at me behind me like I'm fresh prey.